Good morning and welcome to Morning Moments. I'm so glad that you came to join us today. And today I have a special guest that is an author. She's a coach. She is a actor. She is a voice actress, and all of those things at the ripe age of 15. She's the daughter of somebody I've interviewed already, and I wanted to bring her on. Arianna Fox, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be on.
It's Arianna, right?
It's Arianna. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Arianna. I'm notorious for messing up people's names. That's, I think, a trademark I have. So welcome to Morning Moments. Tell me about yourself. What do you do and why do you do it?
So, as you so eloquently and adequately put, I'm Arianna Fox, and I do many things. I wear many hats, including this one. I am a girl entrepreneur. I am a triple and best-selling author, motivational keynote speaker, actress, voiceover talent, teen influencer, and I'm also bilingual in English and Spanish, and huge fan of languages. And also, one thing I'll talk about later on is a Sherlockian official anthology pastiche. So very excited about that. But yeah, those are some of the many things that I do. Yeah.
And that's at the age of 15. You ought to work a little harder. I think that's just that's not much of a resume at all.
Yeah, I'm slacking, aren't I?
Well, I had a great interview with your dad. They're in the film industry, and your dad is a producer and a filmmaker, and he shared so much about you when I was talking to him, and I says, well, I got to have your daughter on, and it's amazing when you're with somebody that has a great legacy of Christian parents. Let me ask you about when you start talking about what do you do and why do you do it. Do you serve God just because your mom served God, or what is
No,
it like to be like a grandchild of God?
it's an interesting, very interesting question, and I like what you had mentioned before about grandchild. That truly, like you said, and this was a really good point. That there are no grandchildren; that we are all children of God, and I really love that. One big thing for me is that my parents were amazing in how they taught Christianity and how they taught the truth, the truth, the gospel, all that kind of stuff. Because what they did was they introduced all of it to me, not as, okay, this is what we believe, so this is what you should believe, and this is how it's going to happen. More like they taught it like as if I were a new convert. They would teach me scriptures. They would explain, okay, why things were, and explain why we should believe these things, and not just, oh, this is what you must believe. And so it really helped me understand what was going on in the Bible, and also to form my own relationship with God, which is very important. My family and I, we are very tight knit. We do a lot of things together as a family. We do everything together as a family, as a matter of fact. But when it comes to, a relationship with God, a lot of that is very personal, one-on-one. And so my parents really let that happen, where it doesn't have to be because my parents believed in it, but as I started to get really into it, because then I started reading the Bible and started reading and really understanding what it's saying, then I'm like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And so helping kind of really what's the word, develop that personal relationship is very important. So yeah, it's a balance, very good balance.
And you're at a time where it's such challenging time for a lot of youth, because even people who are raised in church at the age of 15 through 21, somewhere around there, the challenge of your faith occurs. Yeah. And not everybody keeps the faith. And
right.
What would you tell people that are being challenged right now, young people that are being challenged about serving the Lord and that God of their father and the God of their mother?
Right. I would say research it out, look it up, go to the Bible and go to certain parts. It's really interesting because I don't remember the exact scripture it was, but there was this one scripture I remember where it was talking about a certain certain people that you probably know this more than I do, but that were said they were nobler than those in Thessalonica, because when Paul was teaching them the gospel, instead of just believing what he was saying, they researched it, they searched it out, they said, okay, I like what you're telling us, but let's look at it and let's see if what you're saying is true. And it said in the Bible they were nobler than the others, because they did it and they did the research themselves. So I would definitely advise that to people, especially teenagers and and youth. There are going to be so many people and so many things and so many places that are going to try to pull you away in so many different directions, countless directions. Some are going to pull you towards this faith and that faith, and sometimes no faith at all. It's going to be so many different, gravity in a way of saying it. But when you do the research yourself and you actually study and you go, then that is a really, really good way to just keep understanding. Because that, for me, at least this is me, right? I'm like this, and I'm sure some teenagers are too. I understand things when I understand them. I actually agree with things when I study them and understand them fully. Like if, in a perfect world, I would love to be explained what I'm going to do, because then I can understand, okay, so this is why I'm going to do this, or this is why I'm going to believe this. And I know that a lot of people are like that too. So yeah, I would definitely advise that.
And as a keynote speaker, you get an opportunity to share this also to others, not just through film and through your acting, but through doors that are open to you as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to the keynote speaking side of things, it's interesting because it's a wonderful refreshment to be on this show right now, because we're able to freely, loosely talk about Christianity and religion. A lot of people, however, especially when it comes to the keynote speaking, they book me not to preach, but to motivationally speak and to motivate and inspire the students. And a lot of them don't want to be preached at. And so, I can do it. I absolutely love to preach. My daddy does as well. And I think I inherited some of that because I just love it. But when it comes to motivational speaking, I have a lot of like Christian related roots for a lot of things that I say, but I have to be, as they say, as wise as a serpent and as gentle as a dove, making sure that I know, of course, I know, and Christians will know, oh, this is where it came from. I get it. But those who don't, at least they get to receive that light and hopefully a seed that will plant into something more.
Boy, that's a principle that sometimes adults don't get. That and sometimes we shoot our mouth off and close so many doors.
Yes.
I know through the years God's opened doors for me, and I've been able to when I did stand-up comedy, I was able to go through some doors that I would have never been able to go through if I wasn't a clean comedian. But also as a nurse for 29 years, there's some jobs I did as a nurse. I couldn't preach the gospel, but
Right.
I could share the gospel through my life, and people would say, "I want what you got." And I even had somebody come up to me in a psychiatric hospital and say, "Can you pray for me?" And I want to give my heart to the Lord. I never said a word about the gospel.
Wow.
So I prayed with her. Could be at the risk of getting fired, but I said, "Hey, but I prayed with her." But see, that's sometimes we don't have to say, "Thus saith the word of the Lord,"
Right.
to preach the gospel,
Yeah.
and sometimes we just preach with our life and with our principles.
Absolutely. I know so many people, I've been, as an entrepreneur, ever since I was 6 years old, I would go with my parents to chamber mixers and events, and I would give people our spiel for our business, Flash Design Works. And so I would be doing that for years. But it's so interesting because the main two things that people could oftentimes tell about myself and about my parents were, and well, particularly myself, were number one, are you homeschooled? And number two, are you Christian? And I would never say a word about those two things, but
No.
you could just tell,
Yeah. Yeah. And exactly. And I've had people come to me afterwards and say, "You're a Christian, aren't you?" Says,
Yeah.
"Well, it's funny you should say that," you know. And I've said, "Well, since you've asked, yes, I am. Since you brought it up,
Right,
you
right,
know,
right.
I don't, I get in trouble if I bring it up, but since you
Yeah.
brought it up, let me share with you. And I've been able to share God's love with places that I would have never done it if, and I would have never had those doors open if I would have come blatantly come out and go, oh, you know, this, thus saith God. But
Right.
we're to be in the world, but not of the world, aren't we?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But still having our feet on solid ground, that's for sure.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, we haven't even talked a whole lot about some of your projects. You're an author as well, right? And can tell us about your literary what you've done with that. And you said 3 times. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. So I have published 3 books and also a short story about which I will tell you in just a second. The first three, the first one I wrote it about 6 years old, but it took years and years and years to get the illustrations. So it was more like about 12 or so, about 10 or 12 that I published it. It's a children's book and it's called The Princess Chronicles. And so that's a book about princesses who are learning kindness, friendship, forgiveness, and trust and teamwork, all those important qualities. As we know as Christians, morals, but it's not preachy, so it really reaches a lot of people. The second one is a sci-fi best-selling novel, Amazon bestseller, and we're really, really excited about it because it's called False Awakening. It's for pretty much all ages, and I don't know how many sci-fi dream related movies you've seen, but it's kind of like if you combine The Matrix and Inception, but clean, of course. And basically, it has to do with a man who's living within a dream within a dream within a dream, and he joins a rebellion and fights against an evil tyrant to save the dream world and the real. So pretty exciting. That's an exciting one. The third one is another one about which I am extremely excited. It's called Saber Black, and that is my most recent one, published last September in 2021, and it is a teen slash young adult fantasy sci-fi mix. It's a lot of things in one, but it is essentially a book that I think a lot of teens will relate to. The premise is that it's about a teenage girl named Saber Black, there are 2 races of winged people. The good guys are called the Sarahs and the bad guys are called the Sendars. Now, the main character, Saber, she is born a Sendar but fights for the Sarahs. So the question is, okay, is she good? Is she bad? Is she both? And it really, I feel like a lot of teens can relate to this because this has to do with a struggle in the mind of, okay, should I go with like tradition and what I've always like known, or what I know in my heart is the right thing to do? And it's this real back and forth balance of which one or both or what, so that's exciting. Very excited about that. And the last other literary thing I'm really excited about is a short story I wrote about like last December. She finished it in January this year, and it is a story based off of Sherlock Holmes. And the reason why I'm excited about it is because there is this anthology, this collection of Sherlock Holmes based short stories that have to be, number one, very accurate to the canon or the original works. Number two, have to be accurate to the Victorian era and everything that was going on during that time. And number three, have to be written in the same style. That's why it's called a pastiche, by the way. It's like written in the same style as the original author. And so there was this big, big, big anthology with over 200 submissions that essentially, if you got accepted, then you could be a part of the anthology and you could actually be like in the book, right? So I ended up submitting mine, doing a lot of research for it. My daddy, even whom you interviewed about his artistic work, he actually did a little illustration actually for it. And so both of them, the illustration and the story, got accepted into the anthology, which is really exciting. Yay. And so yeah, that's pretty much that's another thing I'm very excited to talk about as well.
Well, in this short interview, it's obvious that I don't have enough time to cover all that you've done. But let me tell you, you may have noticed right away why I have invited this young lady on Morning Moments. Just a powerhouse, and I'm hoping to have her back on in the future to share more and more, because I don't think God's through with her yet, man. I think that God's got a lot of things going for her. I'm going to put down below the information about her books and the films and all the things that she's doing, so you could follow her, and that you could also pray for her and her dad and her mom, that God would continue to bless their ministry, and God's got great and mighty things for them. So more important than anything else, be praying for them, that God would continue to use them. There are some of you that seeing this interview are blown away just as much as I am. And I often say, I like to be in a room where I'm not the smartest person in the room. Well, let's see, there's a room of two, and I'm not the smartest person in the room. I can tell you that much. And I am so glad that you had an opportunity to meet this young lady. And I want you to find out more about her and to pray for her. Thank you so much for joining me for Morning Moments.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored.
For you that's joined us in Morning Moments, I'd ask you to keep coming back to more Morning Moments.